Hi, good evening, and welcome to yet again another installment of the Minority Report. I am Marlon David, your host for the program, and this evening we're going to have, as per usual, quite an interesting line of conversation and discussions. However, before we do so, I'd like to do the administrative work. You are viewing this program on Tobago Updates website. You can view it on the most frequently looked at platform, the Tobago Updates Facebook page. And you can also view this on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel. For those of you who prefer live television, you can look and view at this particular program on M&E TV. Yes, that's true, M&E TV. And we relish your support, we relish your viewership. And as per usual, we always welcome your comments. And for those of you who are willing to do so, we have a WhatsApp contact number, and that is 284-6597. That's 284-6597. We really want to encourage you to share your comments with us, give us feedback on your ideas and so on, and generally speak to us about how you think the show has been going. We've been on air on this particular platform for quite a number of months, and we definitely would have seen the show's popularity and viewership increase as we continue to seek to make a meaningful impact in Tobago and to the people of this island. This evening, joining me on set, and I always say he is now a formalized member of the minority here in Tobago. I have with me this evening Senator Lawrence Hislop. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Marlon. Good evening, Marlon. Good evening, viewers, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago. It's good to be here once again.
Yes, as usual. And I mean, we missed you on the last show, did we?
Yeah, because we had that was last week Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we had Senate sitting. So whenever you don't see me, really and truly is because we have a sitting on that particular day.
All right, folks, so you heard it from him. He said whenever we don't see him. So I guess that means that whenever you don't have us, you walked right into that one.
I walked right into that, yeah.
Whenever you don't have a Senate sitting, then we can definitely expect your presence.
More than that, more often than not, yes.
Very well. Thank you very much. And before we get into anything else, let me say good evening as well to the minority leader, Assemblyman Kelvin Morris, who is at this point in time taking on other duties, official duties, and Minority Councillor Petel Daniel Benoit, who is logged on and locked on to the show this evening, also lending support. I'm seeing the minority leader actually on the program already logged on and saying good evening to all. Yes, sir, good evening, and to the minority councillor as well. I'm seeing her watching. We really thank you all for what you have been doing in Tobago for the last year. And though it has been a tedious and tiresome task, but they have definitely been carrying that burden with the strength and integrity as was expected from the both of them. Yeah. So Senator Hislop, we just saw the conclusion of the World Cup. I know I can speak for the minority leader because he's probably still reveling in the excitement and the frenzy of his team Argentina winning the World Cup. I myself am a very avid Lionel Messi supporter, not an Argentine supporter.
Okay.
But I felt that it was necessary for the conversation to be concluded about the GOAT, that Messi had to win the World Cup.
Well, you know, there will always be that argument about whether he is the greatest of all time. He is indeed one of the greatest to have ever played the game. I know the minority leader is a supporter of Argentina. He's a just come because he's much younger than I am. But I have always been a supporter of the Argentine team since the days of Diego Maradona, because that was my era.
Your era, yeah.
You understand? So from ever since, I've always Diego Maradona, Batistuta. Those. I've always been an Argentine fan, so it was nice to see that the team and Lionel Messi, by extension, got his first World Cup. He could now say that he has one up on Cristiano Ronaldo, because where they were going back and forth with Player of the Year and all of these things, he has one that I don't think Cristiano Ronaldo will have.
Exactly, not at this age.
Yeah, so I sympathize with the Portugal fans and the Ronaldo fans, but Messi is the man.
Yeah,
Messi is the man.
Interestingly enough, I also saw a discussion taking place, and when I joined the discussion, again the GOAT discussion, and someone was saying that there's none greater than Pelé, and the fact that he would have won 3 World Cups by himself, as they say, carrying the Brazilian team. And my contribution to it was, if we're discussing the greatest of all time, then we can not just look at goal tally. And if you win a trophy, we have to look at temperament, we have to look at team leadership and so on, and a number of other factors, clutch players, and all these things. And that is why, in my opinion, I looked at Lionel Messi's speech before the Copa del Rey to his team.
Yeah.
And I felt inspired.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the game.
Yeah, and you see, for me, sport is eras, and every era has a standout player.
Really, yes.
And so even now, if I'm supposed to take it to another sport that I'm passionate about, which is basketball, there will always be the argument between whether LeBron is the GOAT.
Yes.
But I just bias towards Jordan, so Jordan will be the greatest of all time. Because if I could tell
in the director and all saying always.
Yeah, because if Jordan played in this era, he will still dominate as he did in the bad boy era, because I don't know if and I may have to duck when I leave the studio because some LeBron fan may, but I don't think the softy that LeBron is that he would have been able to survive in the bad boy era.
Yeah.
So but back to the football. The football is listen. Pelé is who he is. Pelé will always be Pelé. But when you look at what Lionel Messi has been able, you see, another thing people have to bear in mind is that the era that we're in now, the players play more football.
Correct.
Players play more football. You're talking about league football. You're talking about Champions League. You're talking about World Cup. So the players play more football now.
UEFA and everything.
That's right. So yeah. So we had to be mindful.
A number of factors.
Because he has a lot of mileage on him and was still able to win a World Cup with all that mileage. So yeah.
So all in all, congratulations to the Argentine team. Congratulations to the Argentine supporters.
Yeah.
I know when the World Cup began, people wrote off Argentina immediately.
I was worried. When I saw them lost the first match, I was like, well, it looks like an early exit.
Yeah. But it also speaks volumes to the fact that you don't judge the book too early.
And I have to give the minority leader kudos there.
He supported
from the get-go. I supported my team from the get-go, but when I saw the first game, they were looking very shaky. But I must compliment the minority.
Yeah, he really held firm.
That his team was going to take
it. Yes.
And they indeed lived up to that, and they indeed took it.
Yeah? Correct. So, folks, that's our little football discussion, our little football corner. And so we're going to take a very short break. And when we get back, we're going to head right into the business of this evening's show as we discuss some issues pertaining to TADCO. They've been in the news quite a lot these days. So we're going to get, and as we always put it, the facts on some issues. So stay locked on. I ask you and encourage you to share the live this evening as we take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Spread Christmas joy and cheer with a loan from Lambo Credit Union this year. Get 100% financing for shopping, home renovations, furniture and appliances, debt consolidation and much more. Did we mention no payments until the end of January 2023? Get the most flexible repayment periods and the best interest rates around. Call 639-5060 to book your appointment today. Or visit us on Facebook or Instagram. Wishing you a happy holiday from Lambo Credit Union. And remember, we are always here for you.
Welcome. It's Christmas time at Limage Parfait Day Spa.
And we invite you to indulge in a range of gift vouchers, gift packages, body pampering services, and more. We can even host your next spa party. With 2 branches conveniently located in Trinidad and Tobago, we look forward to making your experience beautifully unforgettable. Call us today or visit our website, elparfait.com.
Feliz Navidad. Bienvenido a Limage Parfait Day Spa.
Was a while before Christmas, and all through the land, people was putting away house with very little money in hand. They was painting and cleaning and doing their chores, but I went to hunt for deals at American stores. Deals on living and dining room sets, on fridges and stoves, beds and cabinets, on washers and dryers, small appliances cheap. Even TVs and stereos, prices just can't be beat. So let's Christmas together at American stores. After all, what they tell me, anything could be yours.
Anything can be yours at American stores.
I'm Roxanne Hepburn, the Managing Director of Limage Parfait Day Spa. And now guess what? We're in Tobago and we are so excited to serve Tobago.
Limage Parfait Day Spa Tobago will be open to the public from Monday the 5th. Some of the services that you can access will be infrared body steam, spa parties, body treatments, massages, pedicures, manicures, waxing, carbiation, radio, and lipo-slimming and cellulite wrap treatment. We are located at number 1 Main Road, Barrington's Court, Bonaccord Village.
If you see or know about a crime, report a crime safely and anonymously. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime. You can play your part safely and anonymously. Report a crime. Earn a reward. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime. Be a hero, champion, fearless citizen. Be a crime stopper safely and anonymously. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime.
And we're back this evening, and we want to head right into our discussion for this evening. We have in studio with us a very special guest, someone who probably may have not been in the media very often recently, and I'm seeing her shaking her head, doesn't like very much to be in the media. But again, there's a term where you hear the term used, evidence that demands a verdict. And sometimes when you have to pull that type of evidence, you have to bring certain people out of the woodworks. Joining myself and the Senator this evening in studio is none other than Miss Kathleen Titus, former chairman of TADCO and holding a number of hats and titles prior to that point. I want to take the opportunity to welcome Ms. Titus this evening to the Minority Report. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very, very soft-spoken. However, as Lawrence and I were joking earlier, when you see someone come to an interview with a notebook, then you know that it's very, very serious.
Facts are stubborn.
Facts.
I hope so.
Ms. Titus, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
We have been seeing over the last couple of weeks and months even, a number of issues popping up surrounding either directly or indirectly TADCO as an entity, and we knew since earlier in the year we would have seen some stuff coming out, and there has been a lot of misinformation, disinformation, alienation, all these shuns taking place in the public domain right now in Tobago. And what we want to do this evening is to unmask the facts. First of all, I want us to share with our viewers this evening who is Kathleen Titus.
Okay, Kathleen Titus is a lady of the soil, born and grown in Tobago, actually from Mount St. George. I left here in 2002 and I worked with CADI more than 20 years in the region, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Vincent, Barbados, Montserrat. And, you know, I gained a lot of experience, national, regional, and international. And actually, when I came back home in 2013, I had been the Roots and Tubers program leader for CADI from 2007 to 2013. And as we talk in cassava, my experience took me to Colombia at SIAT to work on with cassava, took me to SIP in Peru, even as far as Malaysia to do work with Dasheen. So my experience with Roots and Tubers is far and wide, right? Actually, I have given some books that I have authored along with other people in CADI to the staff in the division to use as manuals for production of cassava, sweet potato, agro-processing.
So you're also an
right?
author?
Well, you know, when you're doing research,
Yes.
you have to publish what you do, right? So, you know, actually, I had even worked with a Japanese to look at sweet potato research, because I have been to Japan too to look at sweet potato research. So my experience in Roots and Tubers agro-processing is far and wide.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
I know you have more. We want you to.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, let me tell you. When I came back, I represented the division on the board of TABA. Right now, TABA is no longer, because of political reasons, TABA is no longer. But because I saw the potential, when I came to Tobago and I was appointed as, you know, chairman of the board at TCPL, I saw the opportunity for Tobago to, you know, shine as far as this is concerned, right? And in 2014 to 2016, I was chairman of the board of TCPL, which is Tobago Cassava Products Limited.
Okay.
Then 2018 to 2019, and then again in 2020 for that short period before these three companies merged and became TADCO, right? And during that period, you know, we bought some equipment into Tobago, which is still being used. Actually, the current secretary was part of that board, and actually signed off on these equipment that are being used now, producing cassava, grated cassava, which is sold in the supermarkets, etc. Right? And we thought, you know, because when the cassava started, when the CCPL started in 2008, one thing on the executive council note was the formation of was to put up a factory to do cassava processing. And that is what we were trying to push, right? So in all those iterations when I was on the board, I brought my knowledge and whatever, because that is what I was excited about, coming back to Tobago and sharing what I know, right? I have done, as I said, extensive research. Actually, some of the improved varieties that are now in the region are varieties I worked on when I was in St. Vincent, right?
Wow.
Right? And since I have been here, we have the division, I was the technical advisor in the division, and actually the FAO people will tell you, Ms. Titus came to Trinidad and fought for the project for Tobago. There was a cassava project, which was the cassava industry development and value chain.
Right.
And under that project, we had training, farmer field school training. That means you train the farmers, you train the extension officers, like train the trainers kind of thing.
Yes.
And the URP took up that training, and they're producing cassava a lot now, right? And as I said, I fought for that training for Tobago. And out of that training, we have a planter and a harvester, which are located in Louisville, and a number of improved varieties, because you can't build an industry on one variety, which is what MX is the big thing. You cannot build. So there are a number of improved varieties on island in Louisville, which came out of this kind of training.
So Mr. Titus, with all your vast experience, well, first and foremost, you know if those equipment are still working?
Well, I don't know if they were ever used because they are there, right? I don't know if they were ever used, but they're in there.
Because we acquired the equipment when?
We got the equipment free from FAO.
Okay.
Right, about just before COVID, we got those equipment free, right? And they could be used in flatlands to prepare, the area for cassava and harvest cassava.
Okay.
Right.
So with your vast experience and knowledge, where do you sit now? Where are you just home relaxing with all that knowledge and all that experience that you have?
Well, I guess could be yes, I'm no longer employed at the division.
Okay.
Right.
So let me just take it up from that point as well.
Mm-hmm.
Having gone through the different phases that you would have in terms of training, development, research, and so on, we saw the three companies, one being the cassava company that you were chairman of at the time, now being merged into one company, one entity known as TADCO. That wasn't by happenstance or haphazard arrangement.
No.
And so what I want us to share this evening as well, and for persons to understand, is in terms of the strategic direction, there was a plan that was developed and so on.
Definitely.
Share with us the development of this plan.
Well, let me tell you, when Mr. Dennis was in the chair, he is the one who pushed the merging the companies, but it did not start with him. It started with Mr. London, who asked. So we had a consultant who came on board, and we put a plan together, a proposal to merge the companies. And when he came on board, it became a reality. Right now, we had a transition team, which comprised of members of the three boards and a special accountant we had with us, working with us to get this thing off the board. And it was. Sometimes we met 3 times a week because this is something that never happened in Tobago before, right? And it was new to us, and it was we worked closely with the legal arm of the THA, and we merged these companies in October.
So in other words, this was a proper restructuring.
Well, I wouldn't say a restructure because the idea was you don't want to send home anybody, right? So we put up a organogram that will involve all the workers that were in the 3 companies, right? But we had a consultant to help us put the strategic plan together.
In place. Okay.
Right? And this strategic plan was not put together in a vacuum, because we had the technical officer from the division, we had the representing the division, and we had the farmers, the chairman of the Farmers Association. We invited the fish persons, but they were not a part of it. But we had all the board members, past and present, all the managers that we had at the time, and we had a meeting, and we had a Zoom meeting talking with the consultant and putting this strategic plan together. We had more than one session.
So what was the strategic plan of TADCO?
Okay, TADCO's strategic plan involved having 4 business units. One for roots and tubers, or one for roots and tubers, one for vegetables, one for meats, and one for fish.
Right.
So we have a strategic plan, and we have 4 plans to deal with each
entity, each arm of it.
Right. So the staples, which is the roots and tubers, that was going to be dealt with at that facility in Goldsboro.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And the vegetables will be dealt with down at the packing house. Right. And well, the fish is right. Yeah. And then the meats we were looking at Louisville.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Now this strategic plan is there, and the 4 business units are there. Right. So that is where we were going, because we were looking at adding value to all these vegetables, staples, because that is one way of ensuring food security. Yeah. Right. Adding value. We were looking at the entire value chain. So that's where we were going.
And in terms of the stakeholders that would have been identified through this process, in terms of the 4 business units, the stakeholders were primarily Tobago based.
Strictly Tobago. Strictly Tobago. This was anywhere else. Strictly Tobago.
So
right?
Farmers, whether poultry, dairy, agro.
Yep.
Everything, processors, everybody had a place.
Everybody had a place.
But Mr. Actor, was there an issue in terms of getting the raw material?
Well, let me tell you, it is always said that it's not sustainable, right? People, give you now and they didn't give you. But we had from last May, there was a project under NAMGEFCO,
right,
which TADCO managed, and we saw the farmers delivering and starting to improve their production, improve their quality, because we were taking the produce
right,
from them on a regular basis, right? And we were, you making hampers to give to the less fortunate.
Boxes,
so we saw the farmers improve their what they deliver to us. Actually, some of them, when they bring this stuff and it was not good, I sent it back. Right? I said, no, I used to be on that project because of my training. I know that I can contribute. Even though I was chairman of the board, I used to be on that. So yes.
Right.
So when they brought the produce and it was not of good quality, we will talk to them and we will, ensure that, they bring us good produce. And we saw the improvement, right? Actually, one of the farmers who was on set here talking about, he delivered sweet potato to us.
Yeah.
Every week from May to December. So, when you're talking about, yes.
What kind of quantities are we talking about, Mr.
Well, we use
on average
400 or 500 pounds
per week.
Per week. Yes, he used to bring maybe about 200 pounds of sweet potato, but you will get,
so 200 from one or 300 from one.
And we spread it around
to make sure
that the farmers, we had a database and we called the farmers and and we saw an improvement. Actually, Bodie is not a Tobago thing, but we got Bodie in Tobago.
From Tobago.
Yes, yes, right. Trinidad used to supplement when we don't have, right? Because they called me personally to deal with the project, and I said Tobago farmers first, and that is what we did, right? Nobody else, and right.
Now you mentioned something, and I just want to back up a bit, Tate. You said that there were times when farmers would come and their produce may not have been up to the standard, and you would have spoken to them and so on. Was there a process from that point for these very farmers to now probably get training or to be guided to improve the quality of the product? Because I heard you say the quality consistently improved.
It improved. Well, when you talk with the farmer, actually, one Mr. Murray, he gave us the best produce, best quality produce. And I used to speak to him and encourage him to work with his farmers to make sure that they will come up to standard. And I spoke to the technical office and tell him some of the things that we are getting.
Right.
So I know that training is one thing that the division does. So I imagine that they would have worked with the farmers to ensure. But when the farmer know that you're not going to take the bad quality produce, they're going to bring good quality produce.
Yeah, they'll step up.
And that is exactly what happened, right?
So
and I
system,
imagine that could happen.
So the system was ideally designed not just to create an avenue for farmers to get sales or for their products to be purchased, but also for them to consistently improve in the technical know-how, the farming techniques, and so on.
And and actually, when this project ended, FAO has a school feeding project, which which TADCO was supposed to be buying into to take the same produce from the farmers and
to go into
the school feeding project. Right? I don't know where it's at now. I can't say.
So
right?
None of us can.
But I'm sort of interested. I don't know if you have, as the chairman.
Former.
Well, sorry, as the former chairman, should still be the chairman. Right. As a former chairman, this issue with the capital of paradise.
Oh, that is a very interesting one. The capital of paradise, I understand it was lost. I don't know where it was. But I can tell you, our board fixed that capital of paradise. I don't know, and it was ready to go in December. The capital of paradise, we started repairing it in April.
Right.
Because the keel was down. 2021. That is when we started repairing that capital of paradise. Right? Then it went to maritime for the whole overhaul and pulling out of the water, and that was done. Dry docking. Yeah. It was finished in November. You understand? During that time, the board hired a captain so that he can oversee all those works. The board hired a vessels operation officer who also was assisting the captain to get that work done. All that was needed was to get the crew. Now there were some deficiencies after the overhaul, which the board paid Mr. Alfred as an inspector to give us a list.
Which Mr. Alfred?
The same one who is the chairman of TADCO. Okay. The board, the former board, paid him in November to give us a list of deficiencies, which we repaired, which we took care of, and the boat was ready to go, barring a crew. So when I'm hearing now that they repair the boat and they're making all this money, now let me tell you what is annoying about this thing. In March, they only sent down that vessels operations officer the 15th of March to go and deal with the boat. And by the 29th of March, it was in Tobago on show. It's abracadabra, how you fix it so quickly? In 2 weeks? Abracadabra died, that is what I know. Right? So since April, we have been working on this.
Right.
Dealing with all these issues with the boat. The boat was ready to go, barring a crew.
All it needed was a crew.
Right.
Now, Ms. Titus, and again, this program has been known for bombshells in terms of unmasking the truth. And rightly stated, you indicated that you heard that the boat was lost.
Yes, they said it was lost and they found it.
It was out in the public domain.
Yes,
and
they
the boat was lost.
Yes, and they sent it.
And they repaired it.
Yeah. So when should you repair it? Listen to me.
Exactly.
The elections was in December.
Yeah.
Right? The board was appointed in January, but never took office until February.
How you fixing a boat?
How you could fix a boat in that space of time?
Dry dock it and everything.
Dry dock it. Fix the keel. The keel started fixing in April.
So based on this information, and based on the information we heard from the Chief Secretary, the Secretary of Agriculture and so forth, all the way coming down, that they would have found the boat, repaired the boat and launched the boat.
Anything I say here, you can get it from the Freedom of Information Act. I am not making up anything. I am giving you the facts. You can go and get the sequence of events from the Freedom of Information Act.
So
I am not making it.
And then the business model as well for the business model for the boat was already there.
Well,
as part of the strategic plan.
There is part of the strategic plan where we deal with fish.
Right.
Right. So the business model. Well, the boat previously sold fish in the international market.
Exactly.
That is, and it was a profitable enterprise then.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And the same captain that is there now, who we rehired, is the same captain that was doing the journey and making
Before.
So right? It's not just nothing new.
So it's not a magician captain that all of a sudden is finding all of this fish.
I don't think so. Because he was the same captain we rehired. The boat had its problems, the boat had its issues. But we dealt with it at our board,
right.
And we decided that this is at the time the chief secretary, who was the secretary for agriculture, said this boat must be used for training because persons called to buy the boat. And we said no, this boat is to be used in Tobago for training. And we spent the money and repaired the boat.
Because there's always the plan for more boats, like more long line fishing boats.
Well, that is what is being said, right? But that is a policy decision that has to be made.
Correct, yes,
correctly,
right? Yeah. But we were concerned with
about the one
that one, which was profitable, and making sure that it seemed to be very profitable now because from what we are hearing.
But it was always profitable based on what?
Yes, it was.
Based on what
yes,
you
said.
My biggest takeaway from the last 10 minutes is the fact that the present chairman was given the responsibility
by the previous board.
Which was
titled as the chairman of.
He was paid
to give us the
assessment.
Yes,
because he's a certified.
Yes.
He's a certified.
Yes, he's qualified in that area. Yes,
and he provided that information.
And he provided us with that.
Everything that needed to be addressed.
It
was addressed.
It was addressed.
And,
so
the present chairman is not saying anything about this.
Well, I guess.
Folks, you are viewing the Minority Report. We are on set, myself, Senator Lawrence Hislop, and we are chatting with Ms. Patleen Titus, former chairman of the board of TADCO. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to go a bit more into some of the operations and the initiatives that TADCO would have piloted. Stay logged on, share the live, and we'll be right back soon.
Welcome. It's Christmas time at Limage Parfait Day Spa.
Feliz Navidad. Bienvenido a Limage Parfait Day Spa.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorns Place with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorns Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Our national borders, our first step to security, but a possible access point for guns, drugs, crime. If it does not look right, do the right thing. Call Crime Stoppers anonymously. 800-8477. Report possible border crime.
Folks, we're back, and quite a steamy discussion taking place here this evening on the Minority Report. Information coming to hand, and our guest in studio, Ms. Patlin Titus, has said without fear of contradiction that anything that she is saying to us this evening, you can get it through the Freedom of Information Act. And we just had some startling news and information come out with respect to the capital of Paradise, and the fact that this boat was already repaired even way before the election. And as I said, the part that my takeaway is that the present chairman was very integral in assessing the vessel, being paid to do so, and seeing the board then address a number of the issues that a profitable vessel would have had, and so the boat was ready by the time this year began. Now, having had that part of the discussion and so much coming out of it, there are a number of things that plans that TADCO would have had. Clearly, we've seen a total deviation. So I'm asking for us to kind of refocus. Ms. Titus, what were some of the plans TADCO had, especially those that related directly to developing the island's stakeholders?
Okay, when TADCO was launched, we had a display of the number of products that we were looking at making at that factory in Goldsboro. Now, I'm hearing them talking about flour. Our emphasis was not on making flour for the world, right? We were looking at making a niche with flour and different types of flour, not only cassava flour. We were looking at plantain flour, breadfruit flour. So we were talking to farmers, Actually, farmers planted a lot of plantain with pisciculture material to sell to us to do this kind of thing, right? We were looking at doing fries and chips from root crops, right? We were looking at improving, the value of a number of different, right? Value added. That is what that whole factory was about, right? And the equipment that came in, which was stored at Shopper, was geared along those lines. We had this gentleman, he brought in the first set of equipment for us. He actually went to China and he retrofitted it exactly for the factory space right at Goldsboro, right? And the whole thing with looking at using ozonators instead of using chemical and all that sort of thing. Now I heard the chairman talk about the factory floor, and there are no toilets on in the factory, whatever. No, you don't put toilets in a factory floor, right? Actually, this factory, what we did, we retrofitted the whole the old cottage, right?
Yeah.
And then in the back, we built a facility, which you see that big green building up there. We built that for housing the offices and the facilities for the workers. And between the facilities for the workers and that factory floor, we have a sanitization room. So if you're in the factory floor and you want to use the bathroom, you go through the sanitization room. It's a hands-free because we looked at COVID and that kind of thing, and then you come back in the same sanitization room and back, right? So this thing was well thought out, right? We were well advised because the person who gave us, if you look at the walls, you know, it is reinforced polymer, fiber reinforced polymer, which is scratch-free, fungus-free, right?
And easy to sanitize.
Easy to sanitize. The tiles on the ground, the gentleman who advised us is a gentleman who outfits restaurants, etc. in Canada. And he, since in TCPL days, he was advising us on what to do.
On the factory.
Right? So you know, now they are saying that they got no information. Yes, because there was no handing over. I handed in my resignation because the chief secretary every board must on the 14th of January, and I had absolutely nothing to do with the board after that. The board asked me nothing. 3 months after I was sent a letter asking about by the vice chairman, deputy chairman, I don't know. And I was never even addressed as, you know, former chairman, do we want this information? But you are asking me for all this information 3 months after. I don't know what happened. I left it in a filing cabinet in Villeneuve. I don't know what happened to it. I am not responsible for that.
Correct.
Nobody asked anything. There was no handing over. Nobody knew what to do. Right?
So
because
go ahead.
the capacity is not there.
So the claims of fraud, Ms. Titus.
I don't know what that is about.
That's where I want to go with
I
this.
do not know what that is about. In fact, the erroneous information that the cost of these buildings is $6 million, that is not true. We had 3 contractors building this, 3 Tobago contractors, you hear?
Yes.
Descon Holding, they did the whole
Tobago contractor.
Three,
Right.
they did the whole retrofitting of the factory floor, right? Then we had CITI who did the building, and that was the initial phase. That was $2.18 million. The $4 million is in equipment and the FRP and other things for the building.
And the equipment is already
equipment is here. And let me tell you, we were very lucky because we bought marine grade equipment and it came in just before they had this whole shutdown. So we were very lucky and we got it in at a good price and marine grade 316 stainless steel. So and all the equipment is there at Shopper.
So Mr. Titus, what should happen now is that the president chairman should also carry the media to see the equipment.
Well, that is what I am hoping.
Because
now that the information
because if you're saying that you carry the media to a space and claiming all of these things that have now been debunked, and we have equipment, so then basically Mr. Murray was correct that the project is shovel ready or ready to go and it has
Let me tell you, Mr. Murray was at when we had he represented the farmers in that area when we had the Saturnian ceremony.
Right.
So he remembered what was said, the capacity of the factory and that kind of thing. So that is why Mr. Murray knows that this is what this thing is about. And he knows that the farmers, why we cited the factory at Goldsboro. More than 80% of the farmers who provide cassava to TADCO presently are in the East.
Right.
Yes.
They are in the East.
Yeah.
In addition, the Goldsboro area is now developed with irrigation and that kind of thing. So if you're looking at seasonal production, you're not really seasonal. You will be having, hopefully that the irrigation is working. They can produce to supply the factory and the other things, right? You're talking about carbon footprint and all that kind of thing. And when we were at TCPL, in the form, when the early reiterations, we also looked at Cove. And we, on the TCPL board, said, no, we cannot go to Cove. Cove, the cost for one, Cove is an eco, and Cove had a concern about residue, right? Cove had that concern. And then the area that we were going to be given will never pass the air quality test.
Okay.
Right? So our board decided that we are not going there. So I am surprised that is where it is being touted to be going now. Because we recognize that the best area for it is in the farming district, where the farmers in the east, will have easy access.
Yeah.
You have water. You have area to do whatever. Our board decided, okay, yes, we are going there. We got the permission from the Division of Agriculture. We got a letter, and we are paying no rent. Right? The whole area is, they didn't even realize they had so much land, allocated. They thought it was just around the cottage. But if you go, you'll see how much more is there.
So
right?
this and I'm glad that Lawrence took us there in terms of the allegations. Now, what we've seen consistently take place is that when issues come into the public domain and certain things are unmasked, we always see an attempt to deflect from what those issues are. And we've seen a number of things coming out, including Mr. Murray, and stuff that he would have done in terms of Alive and so on. And then we saw this mysterious site visit take place with the present chairman who was hired by the previous board at the time, where he is citing now all these issues and misinformation again, as we would have heard tonight. So that building has been dormant for the entire year.
Yes. And it was in bush, but now it's very clean.
Yeah, and what was alleged is that for the site visit, they went and cleaned the bush around it.
Listen, my issue is not so much about the building. The building is there. Building is a shell. Without the equipment, it's just a shell.
Yeah, and incomplete.
But the equipment is already procured and in storage, according to the former chairman. And so if we already have equipment, we have a building. What's the issue in outfitting the building with the equipment that was purchased to be in the building and have a functioning factory?
Well, let me tell you. You see some of those things that came from Trinidad, that is what that building was designed to do.
Some of the things that come from Novo?
The produce.
We had to have pre-cut, frozen, pre-cut frozen
produce.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Titus, and again, this is where I want us to go now. Before we close the show this evening, Novo, we saw that name. Ms. Titus cringe.
No.
We saw that name just surface.
Let me tell you,
Tobago.
It's quite interesting because in the middle of January, now I heard they say they don't know the assets of the company and that kind of thing, right? They don't know what the building was to be for and that kind of thing. In middle of January, maybe about a month or so after elections, you saw there's a video that was circulating with the secretary and them going to visit Novo. So that was done before you know what the building
was designed for. Yeah.
So I find that quite interesting.
So
right?
That
now,
conversation took place before?
If you research Novo has a $60 million facility. If you research Novo, right? So,
Yeah. State of the art.
Nanotechnology.
Yeah.
But we were not trying to compete with Novo. Novo is actually the competitor to the factory in Tobago. Believe you me, they are the competitor to the factory in Tobago. We were trying in our way to work with the farmer, the small farmer in Tobago, to build his capacity, to build the capacity of the agro-processor. Actually, some of the equipment we brought in was so that the SMEs could come to the factory and do their job and just go home and amalgamate. Those equipment are still there.
And you see, that's the challenge I have. The challenge I'm having is that when we talk about building capacity, why would you bring a large company that has a $60 million facility? Why would you bring them into a space where you have a number of agro-processors already operating? They're operating at a small scale, backyard operations, kitchen operations. Why would you bring in a large company to compete with your local processors who put stuff on the shelves in Tobago? And when you are to create an avenue, an opportunity for these people to continue to do what they're doing and even improve what they're doing. And that's my challenge with this whole Novo arrangement. Because Novo is an agro-processor, and you are now taking bread from a local agro-processor in the Mason Hall and the Goldsboro and the Canaan and the Glamorgan area who doing the little flour, who doing the little teas.
North side.
And you have so many small agro-processors in Tobago. Give them the opportunity to come up, create the facility for them.
Let me tell you something. Barbados, actually, our former board, when we went to Barbados to see their processing with sweet potato and flour, right? Where they process their flour is not as big as this.
In Goldsboro?
In Barbados.
No, I'm saying it's not as big as what is built in Goldsboro.
Actually, absolutely not. Let me tell you, the facility at Goldsboro would have been a big for the Caribbean, because that is what they are looking at now. Caba, etc. They are looking at doing something like that. Everybody now looking to do it.
So Tobago was the model.
Tobago was the model, right? Barbados came to TIC and they boasted that they doing flour. They're doing different types of flour. And they boasted that what they brought to TIC, they sold out in a couple hours. Wow. And we would have been able to outgun them anytime. With what we have, the equipment here, anytime. Right? And we were going to be above them in terms of, the modern facility and that kind of thing. Because if you go, what they're doing is very, very hands-on, nothing like what we have.
So,
but I can talk because I have been in the industry and I know what I'm talking about.
One of the things we always heard the minority leader speak of, especially on this issue, he always said that why is it that you're bringing a competitor?
It's a competitor.
And now TADCO is literally competing with the local agro-processors, the local farmers and so on. And that's why I asked earlier for us to discuss what were TADCO's plans. Because everything that we've heard so far speaks to stakeholder management, stakeholder identification, stakeholder development, and literally developing the agricultural sector, these agricultural stakeholders in Tobago first.
Let me tell you.
When did we deviate from this?
Well, I don't know if the current board read the strategic plan and the business units, because the strategic plan, the business units, each business unit clearly outlines what the products are, what the marketing strategies, what the production strategies, all of that is in each business unit. So that is the information needed to move forward, because I understand they cannot move forward because they don't have any information. You have a strategic plan, you have 4 business units available. You read it and you know where you're going. We brought in injectors because ham, the ham from Tobago. People used to wait for World Food Day to get the ham. And the Division of Agriculture had the best ham. So we were going to collaborate with them. We have the injectors and everything. We have our board brought in the raw material to produce the ham, and we were working with the farmers the pig farmers.
Right.
And I actually spoke to a poultry producer. We were going to be making hams. And that would have been out there, we building capacity.
Local
right?
hams.
Right. And then, of course, training and people will take it up and go with it, because you're looking at a building capacity, right? And that is what this whole thing was about. That is what the TADCO model, the TADCO plan. But I don't know what happened because I don't know if they read it. I don't know. But what I'm seeing now is nothing.
I think it's evidence that wasn't done. Folks, we've been hearing a lot, and again, I like these types of programs, especially because I've always said it on air that the Minority Report is not just to come and highlight the issues or to as some people say, to bash the administration. There's a very strong educational component of the Minority Report, and this evening has been nothing short of that. The information that we've received this evening, which first of all began, when I started, I said we're going to get the facts, and we heard Ms. Titus say, without fear of contradiction, file a FOI, Freedom of Information Act form, and everything that she's saying here can be validated. We heard this evening, and we were able to discuss matters pertaining to the Capital of Paradise, the boat that we heard quite a lot in the early part of this year in terms of it being lost and found, only to realize tonight that the boat was already repaired and partially outfitted with the crew and so on. Again,
no, the crew was not there yet.
Partially, we had the captain.
We had the captain and the vessels operations officer.
So partially.
And they were, yes.
So yet again, we see the misinformation. I don't want to use the term lies, but misinformation that would have been put out into the public domain, again, hoodwinking Tobagonians. And then we discussed the issue of the business units, which clearly
business units. We have the
clearly nobody followed through on.
Wait, let me tell you something. All the managers at TADCO, because of the structure that we had, you had a manager for primary production, a manager for agro processing, you had the accountant, a manager for business development, and then you had somebody to do with the equipment and the vehicles, whatever, right? All the managers, we had a meeting, as I said, and they were all a part of it and contributed to the development of the strategic plan, right? And when the new CEO came on board, he was given the information as it pertains to the strategic plan and the business units, right? So the information is there. It is there. I don't have it in my house.
Wow.
I have a lot in my head because of my experience that I can, contribute towards the development of that factory. But I don't have it in my house.
But I have one question. I know we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
I have one question. Mr. Titus, if you're asked to come back as an advisor, would you be willing to share your advice?
Let me tell you, when I came to Tobago, I came to contribute to Tobago. But the current climate, I don't know that I will ever be asked to contribute. Okay. Because I came to contribute to Tobago. That is what that is. When I was out of Tobago, I said I spent time out of Tobago. I going back home. I didn't have to, but I did. So I don't know in this current climate that I will ever be asked.
Understood.
Closing remarks, Ms. Titus. Start with you.
I just hope that they will see that some sense will prevail and some use will be put to finishing that building, that the farmers in Tobago will benefit, because it is very important towards food security. We cannot depend on another foreign who is our competitor to come to say they're going to help us. That is not going to happen. And let me tell you, the persons who are in TADCO now, the persons who were hired by us are highly technical, qualified people who could run this thing once with the proper guidance. there are Tobagonians who are there and who could run it. Right? So I am hoping that, this something will happen, that all this thing will prevail. Right? That is my wish for TADCO.
Senator Islop.
Well, I echo the same sentiments of Ms. Titus. I'm hoping that wherever there are shortfalls, that they will be dealt with, so that, because at the end of the day, this is not, for me, this is not about politics, This is about this is about people.
This is about people.
This is about farmers who are saying that they have the ability to do the work and have shown in the past that they can supply. This is about agro-processors who, when we go on the shelves, I had my own experience of that. I live very close to a mini-mart. One of the owners of the mini-mart, she is into agro-processing. I had some plantings, and she told me, she said, whenever you're planting and then I want all your plantings, because she's making planting flowers.
Chips, flour.
Okay. So there is a thriving agro-processing industry in Tobago, even though it may be small. And the responsibility of the administration is to give the necessary assistance and the support for that to happen. And all I'm asking, let's make sure and do that. So it redounds to the benefit of every Tobagonian. And on that note, I want to wish all of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago season's greetings, Merry Christmas, and I hope that we have a safe Christmas and a productive and a wonderful 2023.
Productive 2023.
Very well said. Thank you very much, Senator Hislop. And I want to say, first of all, a huge thanks to Ms. Titus for making herself available this evening to come out and to share with us in studio and Tobago at large a lot of information that we would have been able to benefit for over the last hour and 15 minutes or so. It's a pity that the planning process has not materialized into actually being things being able to be operationalized at this stage, and there are some who feel that planning is nothing, that you do not need to go through the process of planning so that when you actually begin operations, you have a solid footing. And as was touted one day, you all know how to plan, but we know how to execute. But executing without a foundation without a plan is nonsensical, to say the least. So I really want to thank you, Ms. Titus, for making yourself available to be with us this evening. I trust that you will also consider returning at some point in time, where we probably have another discussion with respect to Tobago's agricultural development and agro-processing and so on the island, and we just share with the public some of your experience and so on. And so definitely you're willing to. So folks, you heard it this evening. She has already accepted the invitation, so we're definitely going to be able to tie that down. I want to say to Tobago as well, we know that we are in the season. Well, we've entered the season a long time ago. We're actually in the week, the build-up to
Christmas week,
the Christmas day, and I want to encourage all of Tobago to be very rational with your behavior. Let us not be caught up with excess. We know historically at this time we see an increase in not just crimes but road incidents and fatalities. We want to be cautious against that, and I would speak for the minority council and the minority leader at this time to wish all of Tobago a safe and peaceful Christmas. We do in fact cherish your support. We have for this entire year that we've been on air. This is our final program for the year 2022. However, we will be back as we enter January to continue treating with the issues, continue dealing with the facts, continue presenting Tobago with relevant information so that persons can come to their own conclusion. And again, we always say that this show is not to change anybody's mind. This show is to provide the facts, and to provide the facts all the time, consistently, and get it out there into the public domain so that persons throughout the island can form their own opinions. I want to thank our guests in studio, again, Ms. Titus, Senator Hislop, for being with us this evening. And folks, we want to say have a wonderful evening, have a prosperous Christmas, have a safe Christmas. And let's always remember that there's a reason why we celebrate in this season, and that reason is not puncha cream and black cake and ham and as I heard one person say before, the drinking of the morbi and these things, that reason is Christ and peace on earth and goodwill towards all men. So in all our excitement and our treats and so on, let's remember to always keep an eye out and be our brother's keeper, so that even in this time we can assist those who may be less fortunate than we are. I want to thank you for viewing. I thank you for staying with us tonight. And this is Marilyn David saying have a wonderful evening and see you next year. Bye-bye.
God's willing.
God's willing.